Hey guys, what's up? It's Jake, and welcome back to another DayZ video. It's been a long time since I've done a more tutorial style video, and honestly guys, it's hard for me to make more of them because we're currently sitting in experimental version of DayZ. So guys, everything I say is subject to change as they tweak and mend the game, but I figured let's go ahead and give you guys some tips on how to stop dying of starvation and hydration. Now this is important, and the reason I thought it's worth making a video on is because people are currently playing, and even if they plan on tweaking it later, people are dying now. So let's go ahead and fix that, or at least give you guys some tips on how to maybe minimize the amount of times you guys die of starvation and hydration, and also minimize the amount of time you guys spent looting for food and drink, because I know a lot of you, even if you aren't dying from like dehydration and starvation, you think you're spending way too much time looking for food and drink. And while this game is a survival game, so you should be spending a decent amount of time looking for food and drink. It doesn't need to be as much as you might think it does. So let's go ahead and start off with the fact that you spawn quite hungry and pretty dang thirsty. This isn't DayZ when you spawn and you're like, alright, you're neutral. Your character spawns and they are thirsty, they are hungry, you need to find food. You're dropped into the world. Don't go out like, alright, where should I go look for a gun? Where should I go look for a backpack? Where should I go look for an axe? No, you need to deal with the important problems now, and those important problems are that your character is freaking thirsty. So, don't go willy-nilly around looking for loot. And, don't think you're gonna deal with your problems later. You need to go find the drink you need to find, and there are lots of streams, ponds, lakes, and water wells across the map. A lot of people don't really think to remember where they found wells in the past, because that's part of the skill of the game, is that if it's hard for you to survive the beginning of the game, over time you're going to start to learn where water wells are and learn where streams are, so that next time you're alive, you can be better at surviving. That's part of, getting better at the game. So, a lot of people think they need to just go look for, water bottles and cans of soda to get themselves, hydrated. But that's not the case. There's many other ways of getting, hydrated. And like I said, there's streams, rivers, ponds, lakes, and water wells. And, you can look up on a map online where these are spawned at, or over time you can start to learn where they are. Usually every big town has at least 2 wells, 1 well, and even small towns generally have a well, or at least a stream nearby. So start to learn these things. Look in valleys. If you're getting really thirsty and you're halfway between towns, look in the dips between, like the valleys, and you'll find streams there occasionally. But I don't want to say, don't rely on this though. The idea of this is that when you get to a town, you need to prepare for your next journey. Going town to town should be a journey. It isn't just sprint for 2 hours and then you need to find some drink. If you spawn in Berezino and you're trying to meet up with your friend in Electro, you don't tell your friend, hey, I'm in Berezino, let me start running to you. No, you're gonna die. You're gonna get halfway and be like, oh my gosh, this stupid game, I'm so thirsty and I can't find a well now. Well, you're right. It's gonna be hard to find a well halfway between one of the 2 biggest cities. So you need to be prepared before you leave Berezino, or before you leave the town you're in. So that's the idea, is you need to be getting prepared for your journey or your next run. Don't just start running to your destination and then plan on dealing with it later. So when you're looking for food and drink, make sure you are looking in cars, looking inside of clothes, under apple trees. Apple trees are really good because they spawn a dynamic set. They're hard to see, but there's no more searching for apples in the tree. You're going to walk up to the base of the tree and look around, and there should, occasionally you're going to find an apple. They're somewhat rare, but generally most towns have apple trees, so you're going to be able to find apples in most towns, at least 1 or 2, unless somebody came through and swiped up all the apples, like Swipe or No Swiping from Dora. But anyways, you need to be looking around in these locations. Also check on zombies, and in the houses, of course. Everybody knows you can find loot in houses, but a lot of people don't know. Loot spawns on zombies and inside of clothes, and also make sure you're opening the trunk of cars. You're looking inside the car seats. Open up the door, take a peek inside. I find a lot of my cans of soda inside cars, so I'm just saying, if you're killing about 10 zombies, I bet you 1 in 10 zombies has some kind of loot on it. 1 in 20 definitely has food. And as you're doing this, looting around, killing zombies and stuff, it's a good way to accumulate a little bit of food. So I said, of course, look in houses. When you're inside the houses, check the nooks and crannies. Look, shelves, sometimes you'll find a can of food sitting there. You'll find it under the table, on the shelf, whatever. Food isn't just going to be sitting always in the middle of the floor. You do have to look for it. And honestly, guys, most houses have an equal chance of spawning food. So make sure you're checking all the houses. There's not, the piano houses used to be really good. Now they're not that good. Or at least they're the same as the rest of the houses. So don't value certain buildings over others necessarily. But do start to learn to recognize buildings or structures that you've never found food in. There are more industrial style buildings that very rarely have food, if not never have food. So like the little green police buildings, while they're great for finding MP5s, the UMP45s, and pistols, most of the time, if not ever, do they like never have food in them. That was kind of confusing to say. But you need to be checking houses for food, and industrial buildings are only going to have stuff like clothes, backpacks, and maybe melee weapons. So just learn to recognize what buildings you've found food in the past, and you will get better at surviving in this game. But guys, the biggest tip to all of this is just knowing that you need to deal with your problems now versus later. Also know that you can eat a lot of food and drink a lot of water. So in all caps, I typed this out in my notes. Make sure you are doing this. If you're at a water well, don't just, like, you will see that your indicator is maybe blinking red, or maybe it's red, or maybe it's yellow, or maybe it's even clear. Those are the 4 colors it can show. When your character has a clear indicator on the water or food, it does not mean you are hydrated. It just means that you're neutral and you're fine. I personally think they need to change that indicator to become green at a certain point to let you know you've hit a good level of, hydration. But currently that's not the case. So when you go from yellow to clear, don't think to yourself, all right, I'm good now to start running from this place to another place. While you will make it quite a distance, eventually when you hit red, you'll start to lose a small amount of health. So once you hit clear, you're only neutral. Keep that in mind. Once you hit clear at a water fountain, you need to keep drinking a lot more. Somebody did the math, and it appears that for every slurp you take at a water fountain, that's about 1.5 minutes worth of sprinting. So make sure you are taking lots and lots of sips. These are sips of water. You're drinking out of the cup of your hand. It's not a lot of water. So maybe spend a full minute and a half hydrating your character. Because if you do that, while it is a lot of time at the time you're at the well, it's going to help you a lot in the future for that next time, when you're not going to have to drink for a long time. If you really spend 1.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes, I'm not saying do this every time, but if you actually, when you first spawned, found a water well, spent 2.5 minutes, getting full of water, you would not have to drink again for a long time. I'm talking probably over an hour and a half, if not more than that even. So make sure you're drinking a lot and eating a lot. You can fit a lot in your stomach currently. Now, I want to go ahead and give a forewarning. If you're watching this video months and months and months after I uploaded it, so check when I uploaded this, stuff like this may have changed. Some of the advice still stands on where to find food, I'm sure, but I'm sure the devs have tweaked stuff in the future. But currently, as of July 8th, 2018, this is some good, strong advice for how to survive and stop dying of starvation and hydration. If you guys are only taking one thing away from this video, if you've made it this far and you're only going to take one thing away, it's make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm just kidding. No, if you're going to take one thing away, it's that you need to deal with your problems now. Don't start on your run and then realize you're dying of thirst. That is, I'm telling you, most people, that's what happens. Them and their friends are like, you know what, guys, let's go try DayZ Experimental, and then we'll meet up. They all spawn in, one's in Electro, one's at the edge of Berezino, Svetlor. They're like, all right, let's both run 20 minutes and meet up in the middle. Well, 10 minutes in, you're both going to be dying of thirst. Both of you are pissed off that the game sucks now because you're dying of thirst. And guess what? That's not the case. You guys didn't prepare for your journey, and you need to, you need to prepare. Now, I want to also give like a little warning and say that I do understand the frustration to some extent. Personally, I think the characters need to spawn less thirsty, just to make it a little bit easier on people that are new and just a little bit easier overall, at least for that starting phase. I think spawning the character off with, just a tiny bit of water in them is not enough. I think they need to be maybe neutral or at least just on the brink of being thirsty. So, personally, guys, I hope these tips have helped you, and I hope that you apply them to your game and you guys stop dying of starvation and hydration. If you learned anything, or if these tips you've noticed that are helpful, make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe for more DayZ content. And I hope to see all of you guys in my next live stream here on YouTube Gaming or video. Thanks for watching.